You are now listening to the Overflow Podcast at thisisoutcry.com. Yo, hello everybody. This is Joaquin.
This is Jake.
And this is the Overflow Podcast at thisisoutcry.com.
Word.
We are so happy to be here this week. A lot of stuff has been popping. Some good,
Some bad.
some bad, and some that kind of makes you go, So, as always, Jay, synopsis.
What up, though?
How has your week been?
The week has been banging.
Oh, okay, it's been a good week.
Well, yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a week of remembrance.
Yes. Way to make it serious right at the very beginning. Wah, wah.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that, it's going to come from me now.
Uh-oh.
But being now, like I feel like a Pokemon that's evolved.
Uh-oh.
Nerd humor. But
That
being
wasn't that funny, you nerd.
being now as, walking now as Pastor J.
Pastor J!
Then, yeah, God. Christina told me the same thing. She's like, I'm going to milk that for as long as I can.
Oh,
And I'm like, you and Joaquin, man. You and Joaquin.
word dizzle.
Pero,
Until Jay says, the church is closed. It's done. I'm no longer Pastor Jay. I quit.
like it's been interesting. Like, now having to really dig deeper into things weekly.
Right.
So, yeah, but beyond that, like, it's been good.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week for me. So I haven't mentioned this, but I'll mention it now. So
Yeah.
I've been doing this keto diet,
Yay.
ketosis, something or the other, and I've also been going to these classes called it's a outfit called Orange Theory. An outfit called Orange Theory, and they do these high intensity training classes where it's like rowing,
Row your boat.
weights, body weights, dumbbells or barbells, and
dumbbell?
I'm a dumbbell, barbells and treadmill, and in 2 weeks I lost 9 pounds, bro.
That's dope.
I'm going from obese to barely obese. I'm moving in that direction, so things are
It's a gradual scale.
great.
It's a gradual scale.
Nah, man. So I honestly today, I was thinking, man. I think I feel confident that maybe by July, I'll have dropped 30 pounds, bro. Like I'm feeling confident. But that could just be I'm delirious because today's class really wrecked me, man. Like my thighs, because we were doing like all this rowing and then the walking and then the lifting the weights and the push-ups and then this, that, and the other. And I mean, I had to sit down for like an hour just to let my body calm down. My eyes were like, the room was spinning, dude. It was just, I was in so much pain. I was like, how is this fun? People always told me, hey, work out. You'll feel full of energy. You'll feel good about yourself. And I keep thinking, it was like, Lord, take me now.
You're a bunch of liars.
Like, I'm at the perfect time to get mugged. All you got to do is hit me really hard on my thighs. I'll go down. And you'll be able to steal everything. But, man, so I'm really excited about that and what's been going on with that. So for those of you out there listening, I am the biggest non-healthy person advocate. But I've been doing this. I've been feeling better. So I encourage you guys out there, if you go for a walk, go do something. You don't have to do something as crazy as what I'm doing, but
Or you can.
But this might be the only time you'll get that PSA. Go out and walk around in this beautiful spring weather.
Just do it.
So all right, so let's talk trailer first.
Trailer first?
Trailer
Okay.
first.
Okay. Okay.
What was the trailer of the week?
It's been a long time since we've discussed anything from this company.
Yes.
But the first trailer for Thor Ragnarok came out. Ragnarok, according to Norse mythology, is the end times. Which is funny, right? The end times. Ooh. The end of all things, the destruction of all things. But it's a completely different feel, a completely different look, right? It's almost got like a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe.
It does a little bit. Right. It seems to be
very colorful, like 80s colorful.
Yeah, it's I thought it was I thought it had better humor, the trailer did, than the other Thor movies.
For me, the first Thor movie was okay.
It was okay. It wasn't
the
bad.
Second Thor movie was garbage for me.
For me, it was
For me, it was garbage.
It was okay.
It was, I think, Thor: The Dark World or whatever it is was the example of sucky Marvel movies. Right? It had a weak story. It had a joke of a villain.
Well,
right?
Like that's kind of Marvel's problem.
I know. That is Marvel's problem.
Generally speaking,
but I think like Thor is like the poster movie for that.
Really, not Iron Man 3.
No, I don't even count Iron Man 3.
Yeah, you see.
So there you go.
So Iron Man 3 is a real poster movie.
Well, the thing with Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 is that they tried really hard in Thor 2 to like make this. I don't even know where to put him on a level scale. Malekith, like to make him like a really hardcore villain, and he was like a joke of a villain. Like even in Iron Man 3, that they did the whole M. Night Shyamalan twist with the Mandarin, right? Fine, okay, whatever, right? And they made Pepper like the real hero, right? But like Thor, like they tried really, really hard to like convince people that Malekith was a bad guy. It was like it's a joke.
It was okay. I mean, it was what it was for me. I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't the worst movie
Thor
I've ever seen.
No, that's definitely Iron Man 3. But Thor, I mean, I'm a little iffy about this new trailer, about this new direction or this new look for Thor movies. Because I mean, the humor was there, right? Because like.
It had better humor than the last two.
It had that humor. Oh, I know him from work. That line, forget about it. It was awesome. But like, I have an issue with all the colors. Right, like it's like, you know, it looks like, to me, it looked like one of those bad 80s punk rock videos.
That's Marvel though. Marvel. That's part of probably what turned a lot of people off of the second Thor. Was it was a very dark movie.
Yeah, it was.
Like color palette wise.
Mm-hmm, it was.
You know, but Marvel doesn't make dark movies color palette wise. They make bright,
but they went like movies, overboard bright. So I think with this one.
Well, but I don't know, but it looks like it was going to have that balance though, because when you saw the scene of like Asgard, like destroyed, and it was very dark, very gray, very bleak. And then when you switch to the gladiator scene, and you know, it's daytime, it's brighter, had a very gladiator-esque kind of feel to it. The movie,
yeah.
You know, and you know, then Hulk comes out, and you're like, oh, it's Hulk.
Do you think he's pissed at Thor, or he just like forgot who he was?
Who knows what the Hulk?
Like he just doesn't care,
you know, because even in the Avengers movies, they established that they kind of had a bit of a little rivalry.
Okay, so the number one takeaway from this trailer for me was Hela.
Oh, the new villain?
Yes.
Yeah, she looks scary.
Dude, that's Cate Blanchett.
Really?
Like I couldn't believe it. Like
that was
like it's like that's Cate Blanchett. I'm still like shocked because there is nothing reminiscent of like what you normally see Cate Blanchett as in movies. Right? Like that's Cate Blanchett as Hela. It's amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, so she looks like a
they finally found the villain.
Like a much more terror. I mean, it even looked like Loki was scared in that one little scene where they showed Loki. Even he looked kind of scared. I don't even know the context of that scene, but even he looked.
No. But that scene, I think Loki was scared of the Hulk, because that scene he was sitting there with Jeff Goldblum.
No,
at the arena.
No, I was talking about. There's a scene where they're walking, and he like pulls out some blades or something, and
I don't
behind
remember
him.
that.
Yeah, and he was ready to go fight, but it looked like he was kind of like, I don't really want to go fight.
No, I want to know if in the movie, like in the comic books, Hela is Loki's daughter. So I want to know if they just like erase that completely for the movie, or maybe that's why he's scared because it's his daughter. She runs hell. She's got serious daddy issues.
Yeah, I don't because they haven't really established Loki like that.
That's true.
So I would think if they were just gonna kind of make her another god that is ticked off, kind of like Ares, that kind of
she oversees hell.
Yeah,
I want to know how she gets the power to not only catch Mjolnir, but also like crush it.
Oh, that was so sick.
That was ridiculous.
That blew my mind. So anyway, Thor Ragnarok, it'll be on the website.
We'll see.
Check it out.
We'll see what they come up with the second trailer.
I think it'll be. I don't know. It looked promising to me. Like I'll go watch. I like watching comic book movies in the theaters. Mm-hmm. I'll go watch it.
I'll go watch it in the theater without a doubt. Like NCG, I'm there. But there's a lot of it. It's just I
don't know. To me, it looked better than the first two.
It definitely.
So
I
mean,
the first two, especially the second one.
I mean, it looked better than the first two. So I think I have, like I said, and that's not like I'm a big Marvel guy, big Thor guy, but just I like.
But it's comic book, so it's comic book.
So that's cool.
Or the beginning where he's hanging on the chain. There's just a lot in that trailer that for you to just wonder what's going on.
So I'm gonna jump boop boop boop, and then we're gonna go to the second part. So with that being said, they just finished filming The Punisher for Netflix.
Oh, did you see the scenes, the pictures of him?
I just saw the one with the big
with the skull.
So awesome. Defenders is coming out later this year,
August.
So that's later this year.
Yeah. No, I was trying to remember exactly when.
Yeah, August.
So
that's awesome.
Wonder Woman in June.
Guardians in July?
No, next month.
So April. So Guardians
in May.
Then Wonder Woman, and then
those other movies.
and then
November.
Then November. That's what
Justice League.
Where me and Jay will take the day off, drive to the Mall of Georgia to watch it on the big
IMAX.
real IMAX size screen.
If you're in Georgia, right? Join us. Because it will be incredible.
Save that sick day. Because me and Jay will go watch it at I think BVS we watched it at noon.
Yeah, it was in the afternoon.
Noon 30, 1:30, something like that. So me and Jay are gonna do the same thing. We're gonna
just said noon 30.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna watch the movie. Go have a Red Robin burger or something, and just be like, "Oh my gosh, that movie was so amazing!" Because we're gonna love it regardless. It could be the worst. DC movie. Me and Jay are gonna be like, "It's so amazing!" Oh my god, you know what you're talking about, everybody! Oh, did you see when he did the thing and the thing and the thing? And then we'll just part ways. So so if you're Georgia, we'd love for you guys to join us.
We would love for you to join us.
We're not gonna buy your ticket. You gotta do that on your own.
No, we will not buy your ticket. We will not reserve your seat, but we will acknowledge that you're there, and we'll all get together afterwards.
We'll eat lunch with you,
and eat together and talk about the movie together.
So that's been established.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find a place to record the podcast together.
That might,
Dun, dun, dun.
Until they kick us out. Stop talking. It's a movie. We're doing a podcast here.
I didn't mean in the theater.
So with that, we're gonna kind of
now
we're gonna kind of get a little sad. Jay, what happened this weekend? Because you're the one that brought
serious.
You're the one that brought this to my attention.
Well, sadly, there's an organization of terrorists out there who call themselves ISIS.
Well, and Al Qaeda and Boko Haram.
We're gonna specifically ISIS because of what happened on Palm Sunday, right? Palm Sunday, where we celebrate the entrance of Christ into Jerusalem.
Yeah, that was last Sunday.
This last Sunday, 2 churches in Egypt were bombed.
Yes.
Right. One was bombed outside. But the other one, the first one, there was a bomb planted inside the church, and like the priest and the choir, the bulk of them were children.
I think it killed like 25
were killed.
people.
There's like 25 people dead, like another couple dozen injured.
Yeah, and then
in
the
blast.
other one, it blew up outside because the guy was stopped by the police.
Right.
And so they're saying, and I got a feeling this number is probably going to go up a little more. They're saying 45 people died, but
Between the two?
yeah, between the two. But I think I think I read I saw like 45 died, but like 100 were injured. So who knows if those 100 that were injured, if any of them were so
Severely
injured
that
they're going to end up passing away.
Yeah.
And so this was a Coptic church because in Egypt the Christians, the majority of Christians are Coptics.
Coptic Christians, yes.
I was just seeing here, Christians make up 10% of Egypt's population.
And I was reading yesterday that the Christians in Egypt, Coptic or otherwise, face terrorism. Face some kind of terrorism every day.
Yes,
That's
their life.
That's their life, like daily. They get terrorized.
Yeah, at any moment, and even if it's because I've done some reading on this, and even if no one messes with them that day, they live with the threat of that.
Right, with the threat of something
potentially happening that day. I read the Coptic Christians, they have these little crosses that they tattoo on their wrists, and some of them will even tattoo larger crosses on their arms as an identifier, that we are Christians. But that's also an identifier. Those are Christians.
Yeah, it's almost like a bullseye.
Yeah, and so I
ran out of drink.
Yeah, I remember reading how this kid was he was beat up. He was a Christian. He was a Coptic Christian in school, and even the teacher.
Yes, I remember that.
Was harassing him for being a Christian.
I remember
being
reading
Muslim,
that.
and so he ended up getting beat up, and he was. Part of me was like, yeah, man, because he was kind of being defiant, because he was like, oh, you're gonna come? Okay, I'm gonna show you more of the cross. Like I'm a Christian, and but he got beat up by his classmates and I don't remember if the teacher also hit him or if the teacher just kind of
the teacher allowed it.
Kind of a thing. So, we gotta keep our Coptic brothers and sisters.
No, we have to keep our Christians, all the Christians
prayer.
outside of the United States in prayer, right? Because that's where they face the most persecution and where they die. And then the deal is this, right? We tend to forget who they are or what's going on until we hear on the news that something has happened, right? So we hear this bad news. Then the worst part is that it was on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is when we as Christians, we begin the celebration of Holy Week, right? We begin, remembering and thinking about the things that took place over 2,000 years ago for our salvation.
And for the Coptic church, because the Coptic is for the Coptic church, it's a huge tradition. It's a huge tradition that they do in celebration of Jesus coming into Jerusalem. So it's not a small thing.
Right.
Or like here, you might get a palm, because me and Jay talked about this last week.
Yeah, we talked about it on Sunday.
You might get a palm in church as you walk in. It's like, hey, because it's Palm Sunday, so this is to remember that. But this is part of what's codified within their tradition.
Yes.
And I to me personally, I think, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think because it's done out of a remembrance of Jesus. It's done out of remembrance of him coming to Jerusalem, like Jay said. So it really just sucks, man, that that they have to live under this constant threat.
Well, what sucks, what makes it sucky is what you just read before we started, that because of what happened on Palm Sunday, they're not going to celebrate Easter. They won't be celebrating the resurrection out of fear.
Out of fear that they all get together.
Uh-huh.
There'll be another attack. Actually, I think The article here says Easter celebrations on Saturday night would be limited to masses to mourn the victims of the attacks. So they're not even going to meet on Sunday to celebrate Resurrection Sunday. And I didn't know this, but Pope Francis is supposed to be going to Egypt on the 28th and the 29th. So
For what?
to go visit. He's the Pope. He goes visits.
I thought it was like
He's like, hey,
I'm the Pope.
I'm the Pope. How you doing?
I'm the Pope.
I'm the Pope. Like he's actually Argentinian.
He's Argentinian,
so
yeah.
he wouldn't say that. Soy el Papa.
Pero qué le pasa a vos? Anyway, listen, no.
Anyway, back up.
No, I thought it was. I thought he was gonna go over there like specifically because of this.
Oh no. It was a planned trip
Oh, okay.
to go, and so now they're
Pope,
that raises.
watch your Pope mobile.
Yeah, like it says, man, raises security fears ahead of a visit to Cairo by Pope Francis, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, scheduled for 28 and 29 of April.
Watch your Pope mobile.
So, I mean, dude, like that's scary. Can you imagine if they're able to launch an attack on the Pope and be successful? I mean, that dude is like heavily guarded.
But doesn't Francis like reject a whole bunch of guards and the Pope mobile and stuff like that? Or was that Benedict?
No, Francis, he rejects some of that, but I mean, he's smart enough to know that going into this situation, I think he'll be like,
I hope so.
He'll be like, give me the bulletproof, Pope garments. I don't know what the Pope garment, the bulletproof Pope garments.
The bulletproof Pope garments.
Give me some more. I need some more security. This is nuts.
Yeah, well, because that would be an extreme,
that would be insane.
An extreme hit against Christendom if they were able to
like do away with whatever theological disagreements and we might have and all this other stuff. That would be. I mean, I think all Christians would feel that. I would feel that if I'm not right. We're not Catholic, but I would feel that if the Pope went to Egypt and got blown up or was attacked or shot or something, that crazy. Even I think we would feel that. We would just. Be
we felt it when an attempt was made. I don't know if you remember this, but then an attempt was made on Pope John Paul back in the day, which is like why they came up with the bulletproof Pope mobile and stuff.
That's how I was. I mean, I was young. We were mad young when that happened. I think.
Yeah, but I remember it.
I don't because I wasn't really into, at 6 or 7. I think when that happened, wasn't that deep into the whole theological stuff.
No, it wasn't about the theology of it.
I wasn't, like the news, like the world, whatever, dude. I was playing G.I. Joes.
It wasn't about the theology of it. It was about the Pope, who he was, and what he symbolizes.
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
And somebody actually made an attempt on his life. So, that would have happened. And, like you said, like regardless of your theological beliefs or differences or whatever, he is still like a symbol of Christendom.
Yeah. So
to take him out and be successful, that will like create repercussions and ripples all over the world.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
So pray for the Pope.
Yeah, but most importantly, for this week, we record this on Thursday, so on Friday when you listen to this, being Good Friday, as we're heading into Sunday and Resurrection Sunday, if you get a chance, lift up a prayer for our brothers and sisters in the Middle East and in China and in those countries where they face persecution, and where they face, violence, especially in the Middle East, where they face violence.
I think the most where Christians are persecuted is the Middle East and regions of Africa.
Right. So, we want to make sure to lift them up because, A, they're brothers and sisters, and B, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, sometimes you ever think, like, have you ever, like, tried to think, like, what if I was in their position? I don't know what I would do. I'll be honest with you. Like, to face...
I'd be dead.
To face that kind of
That kind of daily opposition.
Kind of, to like when and even if no one says nothing, but every morning when you walk out, the potential is there to somebody mess with you, to somebody to beat you up, attack you, and nobody's gonna do nothing,
and no one will come to your defense.
And you have a family, so you got to survive for your family, right? That's part of your thought process, and you have to, remember who your God is, and
really hold on to it, because look,
listen,
check this out, right? Check this out, and I'm gonna go there, right? Because that's the only place to go. But check this out: if Muslims, right? And I saw a video where a Muslim man accused his wife of cheating on him, right? And he dragged her outside in like the city square or whatever, and witnesses were there, the police were there, and she was crying out for mercy, and her husband chopped her head off.
Oh yes, I saw that video.
Right? Now,
why do I watch those videos?
If they do that to other Muslims, right, who believe the same way or whatever, imagine the persecution that they enact or that they exact towards Christians, according to them, infidels.
Correct.
Right? So if you have to you're not just the minority, but you're the hated minority.
Correct.
Right? You're the hated. No one will come to your aid. No one will come and help you.
If the cops were standing there when this dude chops his wife, what makes you think they're even gonna even be there? It's messed up. So we gotta definitely make sure that we're
in constant prayer.
And we're in constant prayer for them. So with that bit of a downer, as we head into our song of the day,
what we have learned applies to our lives today.
Okay, so the song. Okay, so today, because it's we're so easy, right? So because it's Easter, like so easy to guess what we're gonna do because it's Easter Sunday coming up. So we found this rap song.
Well, you did.
Okay, I found. I was gonna share credit. But
nah. You can take all the credit.
I found this rap song.
In case people don't like it, they get mad. It was
right.
all you.
It was me. Well, if they don't like it, then they don't love Jesus. It came out. The video was uploaded in 2008, which is I think when the song came out. The song came out right around the same time Passion of the Christ came out. I think, or not long after, because the video, and we'll post it, has scenes from
The Passion.
Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. But the song is a group where they're brothers called Hazakim. They live. I think they're from New York or Philly. I can't remember. But Hazakim, they do this song called Crucifixion Description, and that pretty much tells you what the song's going to be about. Crucifixion Description.
You don't have to guess.
Yeah. So.
I miss the days when you don't have to guess Christian hip hop.
But it's a dope song. And I hope you're blessed by it, and I hope that it sparks some thought and some prayer in you. So it's here we go. It's Hazakim, Crucifixion Description.
It all started after Yeshua and his disciples parted from the Passover Seder. Later we find him in the garden, a place located near the Mount of Olives called Gethsemane, to get alone with God in a peaceful vicinity. With intensity he hit his knees and prayed to the Lord. He was for sure the suffering that he would endure. While his disciples laid and slept, he prayed till sweat started mixing with blood from psychological stress. Skeptics suggest vessels exploding seems kinda bogus. Many don't know it's medically termed as hematidrosis, a gradual effect. It made fragile his flesh, it made his physique weak even before he was beat. Arrested then questioned, we find him in the synagogue, sequestered to stand trial before the rabbinic law of the same Hedron, where they did stampede him and spit and strike him with their fists. His head beaten, the jolting of his brain caused a minor concussion, which resulted in temporary loss of brain function. Others slapped him while they asked him, prophesy, who hit you? Bruising his already weakened skin tissue. They sought the death penalty. The Pharisees were in no position to act on this decision. They needed Rome's permission. Now the race is on. The second trial is taking long. As he stood before Pilate, silent is now the break of dawn. Yeah.
Listen, he was a victim of crucifixion, the most horrendous Roman invention. The infliction of pain that the victim sustained, we will explain using medical diction. Far from Michelangelo's depiction, he was brutally marred beyond recognition. His anatomy had to be scarred for redemption. This is the crucifixion description.
From Pilate, they sent him to Herod's jurisdiction. Then they sent him back to Pilate for the final conviction. To appease them, he had him beaten and flogged.
From a medical perspective, tell us what was involved.
Astonishing, unbelievable form of punishment. Its intent was meant to extract maximum suffering. They used the whip that consisted of 9 leather thongs and metal balls that would tear into the man involved. With every lash given it left, his muscles and his veins exposed, underneath hanging ribbons of flesh. Of 39 strikes, they weren't supposed to go over. Sometimes they did, depending on the mood of the soldier. Exposure from his shoulders to the back of his legs. Most victims at this point would start passing away. Needless to say, his blood pressure is starting to drop. His kidneys have stopped, his anatomy's going through shock. Bodily fluids he's losing through the cuts and contusions. His blood volume is reducing while he becomes disillusioned. Hard to believe he still be living. Critical was his condition way before the nails were even driven. A bushel of thorns were found, then formed into a crown, which was placed above his face, then shoved down. They mocked Hell, king of the Jews, and started to laugh. They gave him a stab, placed a robe made of wool on his back.
Listen, he was a victim of crucifixion, the most horrendous Roman invention. The infliction of pain that the victim sustained, we will explain using medical diction. Far from Michelangelo's depiction, he was brutally marred beyond recognition. His anatomy had to be scarred for redemption. This is the crucifixion description.
Pilate gathers the masses and asks if they should kill Barabbas or Jesus of Nazareth. Allow the crowd all agrees, set Barabbas the murderer free. Crucifixion was what Yeshua was soon to receive. He hauled the crossbar for over 100 yards, fatigued and scarred. Destination, the place of the skull. The weight of the log is making him fall. So they seized the man from Cyrene that made him take up the cross. That angry mob has pulled the beard from his jaw. Vision blurred, speech slurred. The victim is starting to crawl. Reaching the end, he's put on his back. The soldiers have him pinned. Infection is setting into his skin. From this condition, his hands are laid in an outstretched position, while spikes 7 inches are being driven where the wrist is. He is then lifted, attached to the vertical beam, which is put in the ground permanently. No words in the language could explain this anguish. By his wrist he's hanging, his legs dangling. His feet are then placed together, one on top of the other. The third nail is knocked in, leaving him locked in. The weight of his body is dropping, making it impossible for him to live to get any oxygen. Unbelievable sight, seeing him hanging high. He was hard to recognize, like Isaiah prophesied. Massive wounds to his back, a spear wound to his chest. He took his last breath and died due to cardiac arrest.
Listen, he was a victim of crucifixion, the most horrendous Roman invention. The infliction of pain the victim sustained, we will explain using medical diction. Far from Michelangelo's depiction, he was brutally marred beyond recognition. His anatomy had to be scarred for redemption. This is the crucifixion description.
So that was Crucifixion description by Hazakim. Man, I need a second here because I'm watching the video as I'm listening to the song again.
Dang.
And it does this, you know, we listened to it earlier and but I was thinking about, you know, like 100 other things, and just now I'm just watching. I got my eyes just kind of welled up, dude. I'm just
and
you know, I'm just
like, that's why I don't like watching videos that has clips and excerpts from the movie because it gets me every time.
Gets you. Oh,
Especially that whipping scene. It's
oh
like,
man. No, for me, the scene that got me in the video was honestly when he falls. When he's carrying the cross and he falls,
Simon.
and they give Simon, and he picks it up, and remember the scene, and he falls,
He
and
falls
Simon
again, yeah.
and Simon like holds on to him, and then it cuts to where they're nailing him to the cross, and that's just where my heart, my eyeballs started getting all kinds of dust in them. I need a dust. That's what it is.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's
Yeah,
dusty in this
that's
place.
it. So yeah, man, crucifixion description. I think I'm gonna post this video like every hour tomorrow.
Well, so yeah, sometimes we come up with topics and things to unpack and talk about and teach basically. And other times, like now, it's easy. It's easy because it's Holy Week. And the thing with Joaquin and I is not only are we Christians, right? I was gonna say Christians.
We're questions.
We're Christians. Not only are we Christians
We're enigmas.
and we're believers of Christ, right? But we're also Bible college kids and pastors, right? So it's real easy for us to take this week, which is Holy Week, and talk about this on the podcast. That's why we have a podcast, so we can talk about whatever we want.
Whatever we want about.
Right. So this time we didn't put together a Bible study. We didn't put together anything with notes and points and anything because we just wanted to we wanted to repeat just an open dialogue and conversation about what it looked like over 2,000 years ago, like the things that took place tonight that we don't really talk about, right? We don't really talk about a lot of churches, and a lot of ministries, and a lot of things. They focus on Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, right? And that's their focus.
Yeah, which I don't, thinking like, why do they call it Good Friday? It was nothing good that happened on Friday.
Well, it was good. It was good for us.
It wasn't good for Jesus.
It was good for us. I think that's why it's called Good Friday, right? But again, all these names I think they were given by the Catholic Church, and sometimes they don't really think about it, right? And then it's such a part of everything that it's too late to like talk about now. Or you could just meet the Pope in Egypt and ask him, hey, Papa, why don't you change this?
Why do we
but
call
anyway,
it Good Friday?
Right? So, in discussing and in studying and actually doing sermon prep for Legacy on Sunday, right? I wanted to get into every day from. Well, actually, no. This all started because it was easy to do a resurrection sermon. Right, it was easy to do a resurrection sermon.
Correct, because it's on Sunday.
Because it's on Sunday, and everybody talks about the resurrection. Right?
Yeah, crucifixion's on Friday, resurrection's on Sunday. Right, so it really, you just as a speaker, you just need to get out of the way.
Yeah,
and because it speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself. You say the verses and whatever, and there's there should be a certain urgency because it's the most important thing that marks our faith. Right, the resurrection.
Yeah, I mean, the most important. I mean, I think the birth and the crucifixion are equal. They have to be equal importance.
Well, no. I say the most, right, because it's one of the main things that distinguishes our faith from other faiths. Right, our beliefs from other beliefs.
So yeah,
the fact that our God said
in that
that
context, yes,
He would die and he was going to raise from the dead,
but he doesn't,
and he did it.
Yeah, and that's why I say they're equal because without
him being born,
without
and
him
dying,
without him wrapping himself in human flesh, then he doesn't have his flesh torn for us. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say we celebrate his birth. I mean, even the angels celebrated his birth. So that's why,
this is true.
That's why, the shepherds went and to see him, right? So that's why.
Yeah,
that's why I think.
I remember that episode.
Yeah, so I think that's why. They're equal. One is a celebration of birth. One is a celebration of death. Because in that
rebirth,
in that death, that's why I was getting in that death.
Sorry,
where we can then experience to be born again, like Jesus said.
Which is why, just in case you didn't catch that is why we are known as born again Christians. We are called born again Christian. You're a born again Christian because of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
So, we were having a conversation earlier. I want you to kind of walk us through it a little bit because it was really cool the way we were thinking about.
Now it's my turn to get Dusty in here.
Yeah. So me and Jay were talking earlier as we were watching this video, and then we got to kind of thinking, and a lot of times, I think some of this was born from our conversation.
For what we're going to do at Legacy next year.
For what we're going to do at Legacy next year.
And the year after that.
And the year after that. And so one of the things is that, you have Palm Sunday. And so we were like, well, why do we do Palm Sunday? That was kind of our question. And
why do we give out palms?
Right. Why do we give out palms on Palm Sunday? And so, some of it is just tradition. That's what it's always been done. And I think for us, for Legacy, I think we're going to do it, but it'll be, we're definitely going to try to tie it into a little more. As far as why the palm, why it's important, or what it represents, all those kind of things. But one of the things we're talking about is what's interesting is that this didn't happen. This didn't start on Sunday, or actually Palm Sunday happened. He goes through the week, but the steps. But I accidentally raised my volume up. What the heck? But the steps to
make sure you heard.
Yeah, but the steps to the resurrection. Really began in earnest from what me and Jake could kind of estimate, right? Well, it was on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, we said Wednesday.
We said Wednesday.
Wednesday, because the way we figure, Wednesday he had...
Well, time-wise. It's got to go by the time.
So Wednesday he had the Last Supper, and that's when he... So Wednesday he had the Last Supper, and take it over.
Well, the thing is, I was studying for the sermon on Sunday, and... like Friday, and I'm sorry, and I don't mean to say this to diminish what took place, right, on the crucifixion, but the crucifixion, like, that's easy, right? That's easy for you to cover. That's easy for you to talk about. That's easy for you to preach about, speak about, whatever, right? Because he was crucified. Like, the only way you can get really deep into it if you go into the 7 sayings, right? The 7 sayings before he finally gave up the ghost, right? And then there's nothing because, he was dead or whatever. And then, or before it was finished. And then Resurrection Sunday, right? All those things are easy to speak on or to touch on. But then, when we started talking about the plans for Legacy as far as starting the celebration, after Palm Sunday, focusing on Holy Thursday, right? So I started looking into that and looking at what Jesus was doing in preparation. Ooh, my fault. In preparation for the road to the crucifixion, right? For his way to the crucifixion. And I told you that I opened up the Bible and I started reading. And the first thing that hit me was how, we always knew that he knew, right? Because he's God. He knew.
Correct.
Right? He was born. That was his mission, right? But he started doing things in preparation to prepare his disciples, to prepare the people around him, right? Almost somberly to prepare the people. And then the symbolism, what we were discussing earlier was how I was reading how before the Last Supper that he sat the disciples down and he washed their feet, right? Even Judas's feet, right? He washed their feet. And in digging deeper, because you read the Bible, but you should dig deeper. I read how it was customary at that time for people to have their feet washed so they can be fully clean, because Unlike now, they didn't,
Yeah, they wore sandals and you're walking in dusty roads.
You're walking dusty roads and whatever. And the thing is that you wash yourself, right? If you were going to go to a dinner, then of course you go home, you wash yourself and you clean, right? But then you got to walk over to the place so your feet are dirty.
Yeah, so I think you wash your hands and then you also wash
and you wash your feet.
Wash your feet.
And then but Jesus went, right? Because this is, oh my God, I'm gonna nerd out again and then get all teary-eyed again. Jesus went as God, right? Because remember that, the Son of God did not come to be served. No, what did he say? He didn't come to be served, but to serve, right?
Correct.
So he goes as God and he sits them down, right, at the supper table, and he humbles himself and he washes their feet so that before they sit at the table with the king, they could be fully clean.
Right. And the thing is that job of washing the feet was relegated to a servant or a slave or
a servant, the lowest servant.
However that worked. So, it was like, hey, servant person, you got to wash the feet.
No, but that's not it. It was it's like I read this and it was mind blowing. That was like one of the worst jobs. So it was relegated to the lowest servant, right? Hey, you just got here. You're the rookie. You get all the crap work. You're going to wash all these people's nasty feet, right? And Jesus did it. Like he did it willingly, openly. It wasn't like he didn't make a big show of it. He sat them, they all sat down because they wanted to eat. And then here comes Jesus with the towel and the bowl of water, washing his disciples' feet. And the disciples, with the exception of Peter, the disciples all like being moved to tears and crying because their teacher, the Messiah, is on his knees washing their feet. And I say except Peter, not because Peter was his jerk, but because Peter saw himself as unworthy to have Jesus wash his feet.
Yeah.
And then that's when Jesus says, well, I'm going to give you a new commandment, right? Love one another as I have loved you. Right, because by this they'll know that you're my disciples.
And Peter, when Jesus said, Peter, I'm gonna wash your feet, and Peter was like, then wash me from head to toe.
That was afterwards. Right?
Wash me from head to toe.
Like he said, well, if that's why you do it, Lord, then just like, yeah, which is also symbolic, right? But then, like all these little steps that him, and then the part of this is that a lot of people, they tend to forget that Jesus was fully God, but he was also fully man, right? He was fully man, and the steps, the things that he did, the breaking of the bread, and saying, knowing that Judas was going to betray him, and saying, the person I give this piece of bread to, or the first person I give a piece of bread to,
right,
that's the one that'll betray me, and he goes and he gives it to Judas, right? The scripture says that Judas became possessed at that moment, and like evil entered him, and the devil possessed him then, right? And then like right after he washes his feet, like he still goes through with this, and then Jesus still goes through with the Last Supper, the symbolism of the breaking of his body, the pouring out of his blood, right? All these things in preparation. And then he goes to the garden, right? Then he goes to the garden, and this is where you see fully God and fully man, fully exemplified,
like fully battling,
right? Where he's battling to like begging and crying out to his Father, right? To find another way.
Yeah, take this cup from me.
And we've all been there, right? We've all been there. There are times and that in our walk that we would like to like not go through things or not like struggle or suffer, but we gotta. Yeah. We gotta for his sake.
Yeah, and what's interesting, and to me, with he's going to the garden to pray. He's having that flesh and spirit struggle, right? Yes. Is a way of putting it, because he knows he's like, no one wants to die.
Nope.
And no one wants to die that way.
But that's the perfect way to put it, because remember that he takes Peter, John, and I think James with him. I'm not sure who the third disciple is right now, right? And he tells them, wake up. You couldn't stay awake for me. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? Like, and then it's like, so that's the perfect way of putting it.
Yeah. So so he has he's like, hey guys, come with me and pray with me.
Yeah.
Pray. You guys pray. I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna pray, right? And he prays, and he has to go wake him up. Then he comes back, and he's just like, Father, take this cup from me. Take this cup from me. But then he's like, but your will be done.
Oh.
How
difficult is that for us? And this is Jesus facing crucifixion,
yes,
right?
For us, it's, I don't know what it might be, not dating someone or whatever, right?
or dating someone.
Or dating someone. I don't know. Like, Lord, should I date this person? Take them away from me. Thy will be done. Don't take them away from me.
Oh, yeah, don't take them away, Lord, but I love them. And that relationship is
destructive.
It's destructive. It's not what God wants for you. And you're like, no. Like, you don't say, God, your will be done. It's like, no, God, I want my will to be done.
I'll witness to it.
Right. Right. But
so that struggle that Jesus has, and it's funny because well, not obviously not haha funny, but it's interesting. I'll say it that way. It's interesting because once he says, "Thy will be done," right? Once he says, essentially he's saying, "Not my will, but yours."
Right. Saying, whatever you do, whatever you decide, that's what I'll do.
He gets up, and who shows up?
His buddy.
So all of a sudden the Judas and with the servants of the priests, and the priests show up, and Judas betrays Jesus.
You betray the Son of God with a kiss.
Yeah, so he betrays Jesus, and the thing is, I think a lesson or something that we can learn from that is that once whatever it is that once we give in to God, then he will set into motion the things that need to be set into motion. Because I definitely don't believe it was by accident that because if you think Jesus could have been praying and those guys could have shown up, right, but he would have been in the middle of that struggle, and he might have fled. He might have been like, nope. Right, because that had to be settled in him, right? Because he was human.
Yeah,
the human part of him had to be settled. Had to be settled within the human part of him.
He had to submit.
Right now, when he does, and he gets up and he walks to his disciples, then we get the betrayal. So it wasn't going to be set in motion. It wasn't going to be set in motion until Jesus submitted
to the call.
So what then,
mission.
in a way, kind of in a larger sense, not in a very specific, but in a larger sense, what is it maybe that we need to be submitting to for God to begin to move that process that He has for us in this season, in the season that you're in right now.
So something just hit me while you were explaining all that, and they said, like, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and something just hit me, right? We're preaching tonight. So Jesus is struggling with the mission, right? Struggling with the mission that He was born to do, right? So we can we can interpret that as the call, right? He's struggling, right? And then He finally submits to it, right? That not my will be done, Lord, but yours, right?
Correct.
And then Judas comes right afterwards to betray, to bring in pain, right? To bring in all the bad, right? But the Bible says that Jesus went humbly as a lamb, right? Dude, this is what hit me while you were saying all that. That when you finally submit to the call, when you finally submit your will to the will of God, you will be confronted, right? You will be derailed, or, the attempt to derail you and to veer you away from that call will come from the familiar, right? It'll come from the known. It's not going to be something like drastic or out of nowhere. Something familiar, something that you are comfortable with, and that you know. Like I say something because it could be a person, but it's just something. You will be confronted. You will be attacked by the familiar to derail you and to take you away from the will of God over your life. The moment you submit, which is probably why James tells you, to resist the devil, submit to God, right? Submit to God, resist the devil, and he'll flee, right? You have to, you have to gear up, guard up, right? Because the moment you submit is when the familiar will come to tempt you, to betray you, and to draw you out of the will of God.
Okay.
Somebody passed the offering plate.
Okay, that I got a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket.
Right.
That
So
pictures.
so
to continue this story, so Jesus gets taken, and then he gets taken before the Sanhedrin.
The Sanhedrin.
Where it was funny because the song explained it all. Where that's where I'm getting it. No, so he gets his Sanhedrin where they want to kill him, but they can't.
Right. Because
it was trying to think here. This is where my mind draws blank. They didn't have that authority.
That's right.
Right. They didn't have that authority because they were still under Roman rule.
Mm-hmm.
So, as scripture tells us, as the song told us, right? They slap him, they taunt him, the abuse, the physical abuse that Jesus is about to experience, that's where it begins, right? They take him, right, to Pilate, and they're saying, "Yo,
you gotta get rid of him.
We need you to kill him. We need you to kill this dude." Now, Pilate being the governor of the area, he's charged with keeping the peace. These guys, it really, if you think about it, it's just, they tell him, "Look, dude, if you don't kill this guy, you're gonna have problems." It's like one of those mafia type deals.
Right.
If you don't use this waste company, you might have a problem. You're like, I hear what you're saying.
Right. But then Pilate goes and said, "Well, he's not my problem.
Yeah.
Like, he's a Jew. He's not my problem. Go take him to your king."
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right. Take him to your king, and they take him over to Herod. Right. But the thing is that, right? The thing is that all this this is so funny. All this is what we consider Holy Thursday. Right. Holy Thursday. Ain't nothing holy about this.
Well,
holy.
yeah,
between Wednesday, because we don't have a name for Wednesday, right? I don't know what it is, but between Wednesday and Holy Thursday,
Supper Wednesday,
right? Wednesday and Thursday, right? Just take the title.
Yeah, so we're like somewhere in Thursday. They're saying they take him to, They take him to Herod. Herod's like, it got nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pilate, nothing to do with me. Herod is like, this guy is nobody. I thought he was a threat to my crown, but look at him. He's a jerk.
Yeah, whatever.
He's poor. He's nothing. So they take him back to Pilate, and that's when the real threats, like, you have to do something or we'll revolt. Right? And that's that.
Well, they didn't say they were going to revolt, but they hinted at it.
No, it was the hint.
Like there's going to be problems.
Right,
Not even a revolt.
It was
going to be riots.
It was a passive aggressive statement.
Be like, hey,
we're not going to say that something's going to happen, but something might happen.
Something might happen. We're not going to revolt because you're going to put us, but we might riot. There might be some riots going on. And so then that's where. All right, so you continue the story. So they take him to Pilate the second time.
Well, we're just gonna, move it forward, right? Because we know that he confronts Pilate, and Pilate is like trying to plead with him, I'm trying to save your life here, whatever. It happens. The Jews, they choose the murdering rapist Barabbas.
The terrorist.
Right? The terrorist Barabbas.
I don't know if he was was he a rapist?
Well, according to historians, he was.
We'll put it on.
According to historians,
he ain't here to defend himself.
Right? They choose Barabbas over Jesus. But the thing is, the thing is that there is nothing that happened that he didn't know would happen, and he still did it. He did it. He did it for us. Like, he did it for us. He was betrayed by his friend. He was dragged out, in front of all those people. Right? They mocked him. They beat him. You know, the Isaiah, like it's in Isaiah how everything that happened to him it was prophesied by Isaiah, how he would get beaten, until he was unrecognizable.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
think
He would
about
get
that.
stabbed in his side, like everything. Everything.
So let's kind of follow this trail a little bit again, kind of as we head there. Pilate pleads with him. Jesus could have walked away at that moment. He could have been like, "Yo, you're right, dog. I'm out."
Right. Poof. I'm out.
You know. So that's the second temptation, really, that he faced in getting out of this, you know, death. They take him. You know, he goes, "Hey, this guy's innocent. No, you know, you want Barabbas? All right, you got Barabbas." Grabs Jesus,
because that was customary around that time,
right? To let somebody go during the Holy. So they take Jesus and then they flog him. So now this is where we're thinking, you know, like late Thursday is when he's getting flogged. He's getting beat. He's 39 times, which Isaiah spoke about.
Yep.
You know, they beat him, they drag him, they put the crown of thorns on him, they put the robe, the robe on him.
The robe to mock him for being king of the Jews.
To mock him for being king of the Jews. Here's your king of the Jews. Now, me and Jay think that. So I'm thinking, right? So this happens that evening. They mock him that evening. Jesus doesn't sleep or barely sleeps.
Right?
Who knows, right? So then the next morning,
early in the morning, as soon as the sun is up,
he begins the walk, right, to Golgotha. He's carrying the cross. Now, depending on some people, and I tend to think about it, he didn't carry like the actual cross, but the beam.
The beam, yeah.
Right. A lot of times it gets because of the visual effect of it. You know, they show you like carrying the cross, but odds are it was really the beam.
And it's only because like he told the rich young guy, you know, pick up your cross and follow me. Like carry your cross and follow me. But it was actually the beam that his hands will be nailed on.
So he's carrying this beam after he's been beaten. He's dehydrated, blood loss, like, you know, all these different things.
His back is raw,
you know,
right?
He's
ripped open.
He's going through
the Via Dolorosa.
The Stations of the Cross, right, as our Catholic brethren have. And that's when he falls, and they pull Simon out, and they make him carry the cross. You know, Simon was just there. Like he was there because it was Holy Week. He was there because that's what you did. You go to Jerusalem. Simon gets out. Simon carries the cross the rest of the way. I couldn't imagine, and I sometimes, you know, have wondered, you know, what is Simon thinking?
What is the impact that had on him?
You know, what is he thinking as he's walking this dude who, I would imagine Simon thinks, what did this guy do? You know, why do they want to kill him so bad? So Simon takes him there.
Well, that's the thing. Like, according to the Romans, crucifixion was saved for their worst criminals.
Correct. So Jesus gets to Golgotha, and that's when they're told, you know, hey, nail King of the Jews on the cross. Now that was done. That was done also as a way to mock.
Well, it was done in mockery, but they didn't know that they were fulfilling prophecy.
Well, not just mockery of Jesus, but think about it. They were mocking
Herod,
the priests. They were
Jews.
mocking the priests that wanted him killed, right? Because they were like, "Oh, you said he's the king of the Jews," and you know, and so it was almost like, you know, because Pilate didn't want to do this.
Like I like that.
It's like a real passive aggressive move. Pilate.
I like that they made that distinction. Like Mel Gibson made that distinction in the movie where where Pilate ordered for them to put the King of the Jews sign, and I think it was Caiaphas who said, "No, put a sign that says he said that he was the King of the Jews because he's not our king." And he was like, "Shut up, King of the Jews. That's it, right?" Because you know what I mean, prophecy had to be fulfilled.
So, so Jesus hangs on the cross. They give him the wine. I mean, he can barely drink. His tongue is swollen by this moment. Massive blood loss. his joints have been pulled out of their sockets, because when they nail you to the cross, they nail you in your wrists, which holds your hands, which is why they nail your wrists, because your hands act as stoppers, from
and
getting ripped.
and
they tie your hands up.
And not only that, but back in those times for the Romans, your hand ended at your wrist. Right, so it wasn't what we call the hand now. It's like the hand and the wrist, but for Romans, your hand ended like at the bottom of the wrist, because that's where the movement was.
So you have that. You have Jesus being mocked. Step down, Son of God.
No, but before
Right?
that, because I mean, you have in between the two thieves, right?
Yes. Well, they hang him between two thieves.
Right,
and
one that mocked him, also, right?
Right.
If you are who you truly say you are, then take us down from this cross, right? And make us like disappear. Like he's like including himself. And then the other one, for whatever reason, the other one who hung there and recognized Christ for who he was.
Right. Told the other guy, shut up. But then, so that guy says, and then people walking by, hurling insults, mocking him. He saved others. He can't save himself. Right.
Right.
And then, so on Friday from noon until 3, and I'm in Matthew. I'm in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 27. And it says, it says, from noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani,
Eloi, Eloi, lama
which
sabachthani.
means, my God, why have
Why
you
have you forsaken me?
When some of those standing there heard this, they said, he's calling Elijah. Immediately, one of them ran and got a sponge, filled it with wine, vinegar, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him. And then Jesus cried out again in a loud voice. He gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rock split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, surely he was the Son of God.
Like, everything that you read there is so heavy, right? It's so heavy because you have God the Son crying out to God the Father, why have you forsaken me, right? And I don't know if you remember, but I preached on this a couple years ago, like on Easter Sunday, how, God the Father had to turn his back on his Son because at that moment, that's when Jesus took the sins of the world upon himself, right? And then it's finished, and then the earthquake, the veil is torn, and and I'm gonna foreshadow on a sermon I have to come to Legacy later, how a lot of people speak about how the veil was torn to break tradition, right? But there's this whole thing. I think I did tell you, like, the beginnings of it, how the veil was torn so that we can step into the presence of God, right?
Right. So it removed the barrier between us and God.
Right.
That's what that means. Not that tradition was broken.
Yeah. I know.
But that now man can come before God.
Well, because that's the thing. Because the veil was
the barrier
between regular people,
man and God,
and then the priest, right? Only the priest was able to go behind the veil.
Only the one priest.
I said priest.
Only the one priest. And he could still die in there.
Yeah, he would still.
That's why he
wore
a little bell, like a cat, a little bell and a rope.
And a rope tied around his foot.
It's like a dragon behind out.
But the veil was torn so that now all of us can step into the presence of God. And into the glory of God,
yes.
Right? And the thing is that just the fact, right? And we take lightly, some people take lightly the crucifixion, right? Some people take lightly the crucifixion, but everything from the moment he washed the disciples' feet led to that moment of torment and suffering.
I'll take it further back
for us.
The moment he rode the colt into Jerusalem was the moment that the clock, as it were, started ticking.
Right, started ticking
down to the week. Now, to kind of hurry up, we gotta kind of speed it up here.
No, we don't.
We can do whatever we want. So now this is as evening approached. So now remember.
So this is why we have our timeline.
Right. This is kind of because I believe it's 6 or at dusk. I think is when the Jews have to stop.
Have to stop everything because of the Sabbath.
Right. Because the Sabbath begins, I think, at dusk. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So as evening approached, so really we're talking maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. So they had to rush because dusk is coming. So let's say dusk was around 6, 7. So
I would say about 5:36.
Right. So I'm pushing it back a little bit because it says from noon to 3,
Okay.
3, 4. It says as it approaches, right? So as evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph.
Arimathea.
Whatever. who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for the body, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own new tomb. Remember, earlier we had talked about, they didn't have time to do
all the
ritual. So they just took his body down, wrapped him in the clean linen cloth, and put him away. Placed him in his own new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone on the front entrance to the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb. The next day, the one after preparation day, so now we're talking Saturday, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. Sir, they said, we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, after 3 days I will rise again. So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people he has risen from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first. Take a guard, Pilate answered. Go make the tomb as secure as you know. So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posing a guard. So, the Pharisees continue. They weren't happy.
Yeah, they weren't happy. It wasn't enough that they
had him killed. After Sabbath, what can we say? The scripture doesn't say better, right? After Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, and we're in chapter 28. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow.
Dude,
the guards
sat on the stone.
The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. Yo, that's like they had shell shock, right? They just. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here; he is risen. Come and see the place where he lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen."
Why do you look for the living among the dead?
And is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you. So the women hurried away from the tomb, yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. It was just kind of hilarious. Hi, guys. He said they came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me.
Right, and the thing is that after
that's kind of where we'll start.
And after he resurrected, right? After he resurrected, Jesus went around, right, in the towns, and he appeared. I think
they said 500.
I think like 500 people. He appeared before
him.
500 people, and they saw him. Some people didn't recognize him. Some people like
it took him a minute.
It took him a while.
All those 500 recognized him, but it took him. Some of them it took him a minute.
For some of them, like when he was on the road to Emmaus. Right, and he was with Cleopas and his friend, and he joined the conversation.
Yeah, they were talking,
right, and he went to their house and he broke bread with them. It wasn't until he broke bread that they saw the tradition, the way that he did it, and they saw the wounds that they realized, yo, this is Jesus. But the funny thing is that, well, not funny, but the thing is that after they recognized him and they saw him for what he was, then he disappeared.
Yeah, so it was like he was just saying, hey guys, I'm
right?
back.
Like he joined the conversation. Like he was like, back. He was rude about it.
So now I think the way I think of it is like he's walking with. This is just me, obviously. It was like he's walking. He's like, oh, let's see how long it takes them to recognize me.
No, but I'm saying like
he's walking and talking.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like right, like because they're talking and then he just like puts himself in the conversation. Hey, you talking about that Jesus guy? Yeah, right. So what was it that happened?
Yeah, so it's It's interesting. So yeah, so he sees, then he, after that he gives the last commission, and we'll go ahead and finish with the verses here.
And before the ascension.
It says, then the 11 disciples went to Galilee to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. Now there's more detail like in Luke and
Yes.
so this
And it's good for you to read all the gospels.
to tie all this in together.
Or after and after you do that, I know a lot of people tend to want to watch the Passion of the Christ on Easter. Don't do that anymore. You should watch instead Risen.
No, watch the Passion first.
No, watch
Risen.
Watch the Passion tomorrow.
Yes, and then
on Friday
or Saturday, and
right,
then
on Saturday, and then Sunday watch Risen.
No, because you're gonna be in church Sunday. So watch it
you
tomorrow.
Watch it Sunday night.
Watch it
a lot of people go to church Sunday morning,
and then watch it on Saturday.
I think I'm gonna put on Risen on Sunday. It was such a good movie.
So don't preach. That'd be awesome. So when they saw, anyway, Jesus went to Galilee to the mountain where Jesus had told him to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came to them and said, now some is not some. It's just Thomas.
No. By that time, Thomas believed.
But some doubted. Well, I don't know if, I don't know.
By the time they were on the mountain, Thomas believed.
Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you.
Teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you.
And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. And then from there, they go into the upper room and wait for the...
and then Jesus ascends, right?
Well, Jesus ascends, and then they go wait for the Comforter.
And then they go wait for the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit. Who I think we talked about him
a couple weeks ago.
So
listen, that's it. See, that's the resurrection, right? That's we don't celebrate his death. I think we kind, to me, the exciting part, his death is horrific, but we don't celebrate that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's like saying you celebrate someone getting into a car wreck.
We acknowledge it, and we
you acknowledge it because
we remember
because we have to because it's important. But we celebrate the fact that he did what he said he was going to do. In 3 days, he would rise. The corner, right? Remember he said he was the cornerstone,
the chief cornerstone.
The temple will be destroyed, but in 3 days
he will rise again.
It'll be rebuilt, and he was he was talking about himself, and so. We celebrate the fact that Jesus went through teaching those last few lessons to getting crucified, to defeating death,
death in the grave,
so that we can experience life.
Oh, death, where is your sting?
So that we
tomb, your victory.
So that we can have communications with the Father that is no longer hindered by our sin.
Right. And with that, so that so that we can have access to the Father, right? Because in Jesus' death, on his crucifixion, he took upon himself the sins of the world, right? And that we can only acknowledge that when we come to acceptance of him as our Savior, right? I think the Bible says that if we believe with our heart, right, and confess with our mouth, right? So, I mean, that sounds too easy. It's that easy for us,
yes,
because Jesus Christ already suffered it all.
Because of what Jesus did, right?
Right. He suffered it all already.
That we no longer have to bring unblemished lambs or doves or
go into the temple and
to be sacrificed
and hope that the priest does a good sacrifice so that we can be covered.
And he's not full. Well, not even that he does a good sacrifice. You got to hope the priest isn't
clean,
isn't in sin.
Right.
Because the moment he steps in,
right.
there ain't no sacrifice.
Right. Because of this.
That dude dead.
Right. Because of this. Because when you come before God to sit at his table, right? When you come before God to sit at his table, Jesus cleanses you from your sin. He cleanses you from your dirt from head to toe, the same way he washed the disciples' feet to make sure that they were clean from head to toe.
There you go. So Jay tied it back. Good job, Jay. So, guys, that is our Jay. That is Jae and Joaquin's version
Of
from Wednesday through Sunday. So you got it all. But listen, we want to encourage you guys. Listen, dive into Luke. Luke's got the most detail, and then supplement as you read Luke. Then supplement that with the other Gospels.
And also wherever you are, wherever you're listening, find a church to go to for Easter Sunday.
For Easter Sunday, yes.
Find a church to go to.
Go be with the body of believers. If you don't know the Lord and you're listening to this, for whatever reason you hung on all this way, listen, we want to let you guys know that, this is Jesus died so that you could have a relationship with the creator of the world. That's it. It's that simple.
It's that easy.
And like Jay said, it's Romans, I think it's 10:11. It says, if you confess with your mouth and believe in your
that
heart
Jesus is Lord,
that
and
Jesus
believe
is Lord,
and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead on the third day, then you
will be saved.
You will be saved.
So with that, thanks for being with us. Hey, we hope you have a great.
Wait, pause. And if you're in the Atlanta area,
yes,
and you want to go to a church and you don't have a place to go, we have Legacy on Sundays.
Legacy Home Church right now.
Right now it's home church, but Legacy
you can come join us. Go to wearelegacyatl.com or thisisoutcry.com, and from there you can link over. And listen, come join us. We're gonna have lunch afterwards because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
So, thanks for joining us. You know what, man? We hope you have a man and women, all of you, children, all boys and girls. We hope you guys have a fantastic week, a fantastic Easter Sunday, and don't eat too much Easter candy. It will make you sick. So, guys, we love you as always.
God bless.
And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Thanks for listening. Remember to head on over to thisisoutcry.com for more content. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or Stitcher.